So guys, I'm happy to bring you this video because it means that I think very highly of this shoe. This is my review of the Hoka Challenger 7 after 100 miles. Let's get into it. So yeah, I put in enough miles, well, over 100 miles, enough for me to bring you my long-term review of the Hoka Challenger 7. And you know what? Looking back, I think I knew I was going to be able to put this much volume into this shoe as soon as I got it. Because I've been running a lot in this shoe recently, especially recently because I actually took this pair of shoes on holiday with me because I knew they were going to be the ticket. These are going to be the shoes that can do a little bit of everything. And they really can. Now, you know this as the Hoka Challenger 7. Probably see other Hoka Challengers named the Hoka Challenger 6 ATR. Well, in the branding, they dropped the ATR. ATR is simply all-terrain. So this is just the Hoka Challenger 7. But when you look on the tongue, you will see that it does say Hoka Challenger ATR 7. That really means nothing, but they've dropped it in the branding and yet they do have it just emblazoned there on the tongue. The most important thing that I want to bring your attention to with the Hoka Challenger 7 is the weight. Now, usually when I just pick up a pair of shoes, it's because I'm putting them on my feet, but as I'm holding it here, I'm reminded of the first time that I took these Challenger 7s out of the box. They are remarkably light. They look remarkably chunky, and yet I think it's because of that your brain wants them to just weigh a little bit more. Hoka claims that a US men's size 9, these will tip the scale at 8.9 ounces or 252 grams. In my size, a US men's size 12.5, Challenger 7s tip the scale at 10.6 ounces or 300 grams. So they're pretty light. Obviously, I would have liked to see them weigh 299 grams in my size, but 300 grams I'm very happy with. They feel light on my feet. Now, I've already brought your attention to how chunky that midsole is. It's typical Hoka, right? It's clearly very big. But in the men's version of the Hoka Challenger 7, we've got 31 in the heel, 26 in the forefoot. And in the women's version, we've got 29 in the heel, 24 in the forefoot, both for a 5mm drop. Now, I guess 31mm as a stack height in the heel is still quite a lot. But to me, that just looks like a lot more. And to be honest, it is a lot more. When you put your foot into the Challenger 7, you do sink below this level of foam. And we will talk about ride in just a second, but briefly, because you are putting your foot in and it goes below that top level of foam, it's like you're sitting in the shoe and it gives a very stable ride. We've got a lot of padding around the heel collar. The heel counter is very rigid, giving us a good heel lockdown. The tongue is fairly thick. We do have a lace loop and it is gusseted on both sides, so the tongue isn't going anywhere. I get a fairly good lockdown across the midfoot and the toe box has plenty of room for my feet. Now, this is important. I think my feet are fairly narrow. And even though that I have plenty of room in the regular version of this Hoka Challenger 7, if you have wider feet, you might want to think about going up to the wide version. And this is a good time to tell you that the Hoka Challenger 7 also comes in a wide version. But for me and my foot shape, the regular size just fits me spot on. The Challenger 7 is fairly breathable. Now, there does seem to be a lot going on. We've got this extra padding right around the outside of the heel collar, a little bit of Hoka branding overlay right there. Got those typical overlays right along the eyelet chain just to give it a little protection when you're cinching down those laces, and then an underlay right around the toe box just to keep that upper off your feet. Now, you've probably heard the Challenger 7 referred to as the Clifton of the trails. And yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Although I have a hard time finding any shoe as comfortable as my Cliftons. Like, I think the Cliftons are the pinnacle. Although that isn't to take anything away from the Challenger 7, I find these remarkably comfortable. Now, as I already mentioned, I have been running a lot in the Challenger 7 recently, and I think the highest praise that I can give these shoes is that these are the shoes that I chose to bring with me on holiday. Now, I do have a lot of shoes to choose from, and I try to travel as light as possible. So a lot of thought actually goes into the shoes that I bring with me. And before I went away for about 3 weeks. I tested the Challenger 7s. Well, hold on. Obviously, I had been testing them, I had been wearing them. I know that they work well on the road. I know that they work well on the trails. What I didn't know was if they worked well on the treadmill. So I did run some treadmill miles in the Challenger 7s just to see how they felt. And guys, in a pinch, they feel really good. And guys, actually, I was surprised how good they felt. Because guys, I've got to be honest, this is not a treadmill shoe. This is not one that I would recommend to you if you're going to be buying a running shoe to run on the treadmill. This is an all-terrain shoe. It is a bit of a do-it-all shoe. It is made for road to trail, so you can run out of your house, you run on the roads until you get to the trails, and the shoe is designed to handle everything. But in a pinch, I wanted to be able to use it on the treadmill if I have to, and it felt good. I guess that's the nugget of the story. Right, we've already talked about stack height, but that stack height is compression molded EVA. Typical Hoka compression molded EVA. Now, it's not the most responsive foam, but it's very protective and it's very comfortable underfoot. We come down to the outsole, we can see we've got this durabrasion rubber, and these are 4mm lugs. Got quite a bit here on the front, a little less here on the back, but they're all in strategically important areas. And then we've got this exposed compression molded EVA right here in the middle, and that's the area that I'm starting to see a little bit of wear. But this compression molded EVA is actually almost the same level as these durabrasion lugs. So clearly we are going to get some wear here in the middle. Saying that, all the important bits, all the bits that you're going to be landing on when you're running, are looking surprisingly well. They're really holding their shape and they're not wearing down. Now, I suppose some people might look at this durabrasion rubber and think to themselves, well, man, it's not a Vibram Mega Grip outsole. But guys, listen, the Vibram Mega Grip outsole is fantastic. Probably one of the best outsoles out there for trail running. But this durabrasion rubber on the Hoka Challenger 7 is going to be just a little bit softer. It's going to feel a little bit softer under the foot. And that is what we want when we're running road to trail. Because road to trail includes a lot of road. And you know, when we're running in trail shoes on the road, sometimes it gets a little clickety-clackety. Not so with a Hoka Challenger 7. If you were to blindfold me and put these shoes on my feet and tell me to go for a run, I would tell you that this was a road shoe. It's that comfortable. And if it's comfortable on the roads, it's going to be comfortable on the trails. And these 4mm lugs just give you that little extra grip. Now look, these are only 4mm lugs, and because they're a little softer, I'm probably not going to recommend this shoe if you're going out for some insane trail running on rocks. Well, mainly just rocks, because I have run on it on sand and shell and gravel and roots and forest paths. And if I have to say what this shoe is made for, those are the types of trails that this is made for. However, when I was over in Norway and I was going out for trail running on this shoe, I think I took this shoe out of its element. And while I was running, what I would think was out of this element, I was surprised how good the shoe felt. I was rock hopping, I was running on scree, I was running on a lot of mountain trails, and I was really glad that I had the Hoka Challenger 7 with me because it was sticking like a dream. Now, with that said, this is definitely a caveat. My experience with the Hoka Challenger 7 has mainly been in dry conditions. And while I think the Hoka Challenger 7 would handle extremely well in wet conditions, in the type of easy trails, you know, those shell, those gravel roads, those forest paths, I'm not so sure if I'd want to take the Hoka Challenger 7 up on rocky trails where I'm rock hopping, where I'm running on scree. I'm just not sure about this outsole, how it would grip. But in my experience, for what I've used it for over 100 miles that I've put in this shoe, and for the majority of those miles being on dry trails, it has worked exceedingly well. Okay, we've talked about the grip of the outsole. We've talked about how we sit deep inside the shoe, and that helps give it a little feeling of stability. See this sole flare right here and on the heel. And if you look at it from the back, look at this platform. This is a big booty on this shoe, and this big booty is exactly what you want for stable running. Look, this isn't Hoka's race day trail shoe, although it is light enough to be, and you do have a lot of material here, and perhaps if you're looking for something a little more nimble, you might go for something like the Tecton X2. However, if you're looking for your bread and butter trail shoe or road to trail shoe, or heck, even if you just loved how this shoe looked and you wanted to use it just on the roads, my friends, I'm pretty confident that you're going to be happy with this shoe. Now, I did talk about it in my initial review of the Hoka Challenger 7 and the changes that they've made over the Hoka Challenger 6. I mean, this is a big improvement over the 6. Hoka has dropped the weight and they've added midsole. I think they added 2mm overall. So clearly, they know what they're doing. They're trying to make this shoe as comfortable and approachable as possible to a wide range of people. You'll hear the reviewers, me included, moaning about weight all the time. My friends, no one is complaining about weight about the Hoka Challenger 7. This shoe feels light. And that feeling of lightness really translates when you're running on the trail. And as far as overall wear and tear, look, yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of wear and tear. Like, I think some of the paint is, well, it's not paint, it's like a sticker. Yeah, it's coming off. I brushed it on the back. I can see the EVA getting a little chewed away here on the back, and it's overall just a bit dirty. That's what happens when you run 100 miles on trails. But overall, the upper is in remarkably good shape. And I haven't even washed this shoe. This is just from me running and then just banging it off when it gets dusty and dirty. Oh gosh, I don't think I've even talked about price. The Hoka Challenger 7 is going to cost you $145. Of course, I will place a link to it. You can buy it at Roadrunner Sports using my affiliate link in the show notes below. But that brings me to affordability. And $145, guys, it seems like a lot of the time I am saying, I wish they would charge just a little less for this shoe. I don't feel that way with the Challenger 7. Look, this is a total gush fest. And I should have disclosed it before now, but I'm going to disclose it now. This shoe was sent to me by Hoka. I didn't have to buy this shoe. However, they're not paying me, and they certainly didn't ask for me to do an additional review on this shoe. But even if they had, they wouldn't get to see it before you do. But ultimately, this shoe is light. I think it represents incredible value at $145. I actually don't have too much to complain about the Hoka Challenger 7, which I like to always have something to complain about. Maybe this colorway isn't my favorite. I tend to like lighter colors, but that's nothing. So yeah, if you're looking for a good road to trail shoe, I'd say mainly dry trails, or at least if the trails you're running on are a little wet, they're not like super muddy and swampy, I think the Hoka Challenger 7 is going to work well for you. Guys, thanks for staying all the way to the end of this video. My name's Matt B. This has been my review of Hoka's Challenger 7. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.